Since we speaking on warriorhood, it's only right we reach back to the ancestors, reach to the Agoon, and summon those who exemplify this like, if Sumi was alive, he wouldn't let the ocean slide. Why should I think it's about time to conduct the seance and bring Parmenides back to life. Sumi's back, Sumi's back, Yasantiwa is back, Yasantiwa is back, the Mau-Mau's back, the Mau-Mau's back, the Hawker's back, the Hawker's back. The devil's not a spirit with a pitchfork in hell. He's a pale-faced beast from where the cave dwells. I'm loading on my armor. It's time for his karma. He got blood on his hands for what he did to Rwanda. He the root and the core, so we gotta kill him all. Look him in his blue eye, blast his brains on the wall. He a faggot pedophile like this so-called God Zeus. Those weak-ass religious true don't pray to no spook. Strange fruit and drop seeds that fell from the noose with the blade till it's broke, till his head coming loose. It's war on the horizon, so I'm calling Uncle Seth. Leave her cracker body smoking like a cigarette. Better yet, leave his body filled with holes like fishnets. I know that you will poop, my pistol will make you wet. Cracker, Portuguese, English and the Spanish, the French, etc. All you dogs gotta vanish. If Khaled was alive, he wouldn't let the nonsense slide. Why should I think it's about time to conduct the seance and bring the general back to life. Khaled's back, Khaled's back, and Tinker's back, and Tinker's back, Milcar's back, Milcar's back, Del Jones back, Del Jones back. I think I'm cut, Joe, maroon straight cutthroat, giving crackers hell, guerrilla warfare in the Jamaican jungle. Bust ass with cutlass and machetes, blending in with the trees. These devils ain't ready. I think I'm cuffing, uprising in Burby, 3,000 deep, showing them no mercy. I think I'm sinking, cutting throats on the Amistad. I think I'm Centaurio, I'm a Zulu Shaka, I'm a ride. I think I'm Bambada, keeping the tradition going, putting pressure on Europeans, watching their blood flowing. I think I'm mentally king of kings, a line of soldiers, side to side with my queen, running crackers out of Ethiopia. Didan Kimandi, Thomas Sankara, Gaspar in Mexico, African warrior. I think I'm Chancellor Williams, trying to get your mind right. Freedom or death, I risk my eyesight in my life.
We don't have the guns for black. We don't have the guns for our own kind. We have the guns for the cracker, for the beast, for the devil, for the white man. But it's also a Negro rebellion. It's necessary.
Khaled's back.
Peace and welcome to the Message to the Black Fam program here on War on the Horizon. I am your host, Angela Freeman, and we definitely have an important show in store for you today. Before I jump into that, I do have a couple of announcements. Number one, as I've been saying on all the shows recently, we do have a new program coming on every Wednesday from 7 to 9. And it's from the Sovereign Haiti Initiative. It's called Live Free or Die. So that is a new program that we have on. It'll be coming on tomorrow, so be sure that you tune in for that. Also, if you tuned in yesterday to Irritated Genie's program, you were able to hear Baba Baruti. Well, he has a program here once a month, every first Friday. So if you tune in this Friday from 7:30 to 9, Baba Baruti and his wife Yal Baruti will be on air with their Abibi Fahodie program. So you want to be sure to tune into that as well. Following my program tonight, of course, is the Cypher program, and the topic is going to be 21 years after the LA riots. Can we all just get along? Also, they'll be talking about the NBA and white sex offenders. So definitely have a lot in store for us today. Next month, United Front has their new CD coming out featuring Omowale, or better known as Ambassador O, called Cypher Incomplete. And then coming up in May, we have Ashra Kwesi that's going to be joining War on the Horizon at Secrets of Nature, May 11th, followed by my book signing May 18th in Detroit that will feature The Irritated Genie of Southeast as well as United Front. So that's just a little bit of what we have going on. Be sure if you can make it to any of the events that you definitely come there. We love to see you. Today, it's going to be an update show. If anybody remembers last fall, War on the Horizon kind of helped publicize a situation in Delaware where black people were actually getting lynched. I usually don't do a show this week. This is my off week, but I decided to go ahead and bring this show to you because black people tend to have a very short memory. A lot of us were very hyped up and very upset when this happened. And as usual, as time goes on, we tend to forget and everything tends to die down a little bit, calm down. That's a very bad habit we have. So I wanted to do this program so that we could kind of get up to date with what has happened since then. What I'm going to do is bring on our brother in just a minute, and we're going to go over the original story in case you missed it. I know we do have a lot of new listeners who may not know what we're talking about. We're going to go over the story a little bit and then give you the updates about what else has happened since then and what we can do to help, because it's cool to sit here and say, oh, that's messed up, whatever. But what are we going to do about it? Are we going to just keep talking, or are we actually going to make some moves? So that's what we're going to be doing. After that, we're going to go to the phone lines, and we'll keep it going as long as we have callers. If we end early tonight, if we don't get a lot of callers, that's fine. We'll end it early, and you can tune back in for the cipher, or we can take it the entire 2 hours. It just depends on you and your participation, how many questions you have, etc. So with no further ado, I think I see my brother on the line here. Dr. Issa, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here with you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, peace. Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing this story to us. I don't think any of us would have known anything about this situation if it were not for you.
Yes, it's a pretty serious situation, and it seems like that these type of issues have never stopped. But I think the biggest issue is that we as black people stopped caring about these issues for some strange reason. So hopefully, with God's grace, we'll be able to get these type of issues back on the front line of black folk, because they're very serious. And when you look at where it's happening, the powers that be who run this country have the powers to stop it, but they are running from the story. They're running from it, period. It shows you how serious this is. And it tells you that the powers that be really want this to continue. So I guess it's up to black folk. They have to make the decision as to what they want, as to what we want in this society if we're going to remain here. But we do know that European Americans, they most definitely have a plan for us. And we know what the irritated genie stands for. But I like to add that these people won't. Well, I mean, and this is basically what the irritated genie says in War on the Horizon. They want to extinguish us, and I'm 100% certain of this. And anybody who stands up in any type of fashion who points our people to the right way, the first thing they do is go after them. That's the history. They have a history of doing this. We can go all the way back to the brother who wrote David Walker. They poisoned him. Many of us believe that Booker T. Washington was poisoned, especially after he began to challenged the white philanthropist's money and what they wanted him to do to black folk, he automatically dies, all of a sudden dies of pneumonia, of alleged pneumonia. We can go all the way up to Paul Robeson, Medgar Evers. They killed him, shot him in the back. And, we all know about the story of Malcolm and King. It's my belief that there's a possibility that they got our dear beloved intellectual Amos Wilson and Brother Khalid. This is my belief, although I've heard otherwise. But it fits the pattern of white supremacy and how they deal with African people in this country, really African people globally. And so for them to lynch black people or to allow lynchings to continue in 2013 and try to brush it under the rug as if nothing has happened, and black people go along with it, or at least the black white supremacists, they go along with it mainly because that's their position. That's what they're paid to do, is to cover all white supremacist activity and to be the gatekeepers for the white supremacists until it's their time to be lynched. So, but some of us don't feel that way. We will always fight, and we will always stand up for what's right.
Yes, sir. Now, I remember when you were telling us about the story, that it all seemed to begin when you were talking about conspiracies and the decline of the HBCUs. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And also, for most of us have never had the opportunity to go to a historically black university. Can you tell us the importance of the education that you received there, and then what you were going around lecturing about that actually led to this whole discovery?
Well, I was recruited to teach at Delaware State University in Dover, Delaware. Before then, from 2005 to 2008, I was teaching at Elizabeth City State University in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I got that job immediately after receiving my PhD in history, focusing on the African diaspora and the United States history at Howard University in D.C. And I was in North Carolina for 3 years, and then I came to Delaware State University in 2008. And quite interestingly there, Delaware State is supposed to be a historical black college, but there are no black professors. I think the black African-American faculty, meaning those Africans who are indigenous to the United States by way of the Great Ma'afa, they represent something like 15% of all the faculty. They have been what I call ethnically cleansed out of the university. And I noticed this. I also noticed this was going on at the previous university I was at. And I started the research actually in around 2007. Then when I got to Delaware State, the white faculty would constantly brag about the school will be a white school, and I didn't understand that. I was like, how could a black college be a white college? And, I attended three of the largest black colleges in the country, Southern University, where I played football, Texas Southern University, and Howard. And so I didn't understand how someone could even possibly even make the statement or suggestion. And so they would brag, and one day one of the white administrators said this school would be just like Bluefield State in West Virginia State. And I didn't understand what that meant. So I decided to just Google those schools, and I realized that they are historically black colleges in West Virginia, but they don't have black people there. So some people say, well, how could that be possible? Yeah. Conspiracy. So that's when I began to do the research, which led me to this article I wrote black colleges are turning white, the ethnic cleansing of HBCUs in the age of Obama. And that article went viral all over the internet. Tens of thousands of people downloaded it, and it forced them to really respond to it, the European elite of this country, to respond to it. And they responded to it via an organization that very few people know about, but all people who go to college have to deal with. It's called the College Board. The College Board is located out of New York City. It's one of the largest educational 501c3 nonprofit organizations in the country, and it handles the SATs among many things. So if you're taking an SAT, it's been administrated through the College Board. And they responded. They found some Negro to respond to it in February of 2012 to my article, which he lied throughout the webinar, and they refused to allow me to respond to what he was saying. But it was clear to me that there was a untold national agenda headed by primarily the Democratic Party to eliminate African Americans from historically black colleges. So some people will say, why? And I talk about it a little. Well, and I say this without blinking. Black colleges as they stand with a predominantly black faculty and predominantly black students are a threat to the United States national security. They don't want another civil rights movement. They don't want another black power movement. They don't want another African-centered movement. All of these things emerged out of the historically black colleges because of the rich tradition of resistance. And so when I wrote this article, it kind of dealt with these issues. And then in February of 2012, 1 month before I was arrested, a group of concerned residents from Delaware, Dover, Delaware, approached me at the university, and they told me that they had some flyers in which some white supremacists had put flyers throughout the black community downtown Dover, stating that the flyer, which a lot of people have seen on War on the Horizon's website, depicts a black man hanging from a tree, and it basically said, "Keep cleaning our streets one nigger at a time." And I live, less than a mile from downtown Dover, and so I was concerned. So I went down just to see, if this was really a hoax or misunderstanding. At that time, I had no idea, that these things could be happening. I was really, to be quite honest, naive. And but I know Europeans, and I've studied the history, and I know this is a part of the history. So, but I just couldn't imagine. I'm like, you got a black president, the vice president comes from Delaware. I mean, how could this be, So I go down and I talk to numerous residents, and they showed me the flyers, and they had distributed these flyers throughout the downtown area where black people live. And I asked them, well, had anyone been lynched? And they said, one person told me that there was a person who was found less than a quarter of a mile from downtown on a university campus. He was found in the previous year, in October of 2010, hanging from a tree with his own belt. And this person kind of misled me because they told me that this individual was white, so I left it alone. This is February 2012. I said, okay, well, a white person killed himself. I guess, this doesn't sound like something black. So in March 1st, 2012, the students had a rally on campus. I did support the students' rally, and I was outside with the students. I was not rallying, but I did support the students. They told me that the administration was giving them problems, and I just said, well, I don't see why they would do that, because the previous year, white students had a march and rally at a black college, the equestrian team, which is a horse racing team, and I was there at that rally, so I didn't see why they would harass the black students who would have a rally to address issues of African American culture at a allegedly state and federally funded black college. And so when I got there, the administration obviously didn't like the fact that I was there, and they set me up and had me arrested, in which I passed out. I had post-traumatic stress disorder, which was caused by the university from years of attacks from the hostile white faculty, white supremacist faculty. And I passed out, and I'm taken to the hospital. I'm arrested again on my hospital bed, and then put into a jail cell, and then forced to sign documents saying that I would not come back up to the school again. And then I was released and charged with numerous charges, misdemeanors, but they add up to more than 2 years in jail, which include resisting arrest and resisting arrest and offensively touching an officer, which means that you have to be in the proper mindset and know that you're doing these things. Of course, I pleaded not guilty to all of them. And I decided, since, they banned me from the school, that I wouldn't. So I started going to this park called Silver Lake Park. And I would walk around the park, because I had nothing to do. My whole life was academia, teaching youth, particularly black youth. Out of Howard, I didn't want to teach anywhere else but a black college, because I understood that tradition. Before we were allowed to go into the white colleges, in which we're not going to be able to go there pretty soon, because their affirmative action is under threat now, which will ban, or more than likely will end our enrollment at white colleges by probably more than 90% over the next couple of years, once they do come to the United States Supreme Court does come down with this ruling on Fisher versus the University of Texas, which is a ruling attacking affirmative action. So those of the radio listeners who've attended and are attending or have children attending predominantly white institutions, more than likely that will end this year. Looking at the general pattern, and I've spoken on this quite extensively. But while walking around Silver Lake Park, I did notice a lot of interesting things going there, and I was going from March until May quite regularly, sometimes 2 times a day. And then one week, my wife decided to come with me in the evenings, in which I would pick up the kids, my children, from school, and walk around the park. And she walked with me, and she just like a black woman, her intuition, that inner eye, that third eye, she was walking with me, and she said, something ain't right. And she said, I hope that when you walk, you don't leave our children out here by themselves, because it's a pretty big park. And I said, well, they do. They play around, and I'll walk, I would lose sight of them for about 5 minutes. She said, there's too many dark spots in this place. People are following you. You don't see this. And at the time I didn't understand. And just by happened 2 days later, she calls me at night and said they found a boy hanging on a tree in the park. I believe he was lynched. Now, my wife is from Ghana, West Africa. What she knows about lynchings is because when I was teaching at Elizabeth City State University, I highly encouraged her to take classes on African American history. And I would tell her, you need to learn something about our struggle, us Africans in America. And I remember her talking about lynchings when she took this class. You know, she couldn't believe that white people would actually do this, you know. And I said, yeah, they do it. And they're probably still doing it. And, but this was like in 2006. And so she calls me in May, like 2 days after she leaves the park, and says, they found a boy hanging from a tree. She said, I think he was lynched. And I said, well, how do you know this? She said, one of her white friends told her. And so I immediately Googled, and I didn't see anything in the online papers. So the next day I decided to go to my barber shop. And Dover is a very small city. It's 30,000 people, you know. And I walk into the barber shop, and I talk to my barber. And I asked him, man, have you heard of this cat hanging from a tree in the Silver Lake Park? And he was like, yeah, that's my cousin. I said, yeah? What do you mean that's your cousin? He said, yeah, he used to cut hair here. He probably cut your hair. And I'm like, who? And he showed me the picture. I'm like, wow. I said, well, why would he go to the park to hang himself? He said, we don't know. It don't make sense. So I asked him, where did his mother live? And I went by and talked to the family, a very poor family. And I talked to them, and I told them that I was that I would help them investigate what was going on. And I talked to maybe a dozen people in the community, and they all said that this young man would never go to the park and kill himself, hang himself. That he was known to carry a gun, and that was if he was going to die, it would probably be through shooting himself, not hanging himself on the tree. And his name was Johnny Lorenzo Clark. Nobody to this day, everybody in the community, believes that he was lynched. We even got local political authorities involved, and we had a hearing on it, and I taped some of it, and the families came out, and they even pointed out that the guys that could have possibly done this to him, they knew who these guys were, and but you know, people weren't sure. A few months later, another guy escaped the lynching. His name was Henry Fordham, and he said that they said they were going to lynch him, and I didn't believe it. I went to his house. I took the pictures of the thing, the marks on his ear and his neck, and when I took the picture, I talked to him, and you know, he was saying that they told him they were going to cut off his penis, and it was his day to die. And you know, I'm like, this guy has been in and out of the correctional institutions all his life. He was 32 years old. You know, he had like a 6th, 7th grade education. You know, he didn't know much about the rituals of lynchings, and he was describing it with a T, you know, and I'm like, wow. I mean, this stuff is really going on, you know. And so, yeah, you know, I was teaching this at the university before they had me set up and arrested, you know, and I was teaching the young black students particularly and warning them, and that these things were going on, and I believe there's a possibility that, you know, it kind of a lot of people, powerful people in the state, didn't like it, and that could possibly be a reason why, one of the reasons why they came down against me. I'm not sure, but that's my own personal belief. But yes, I don't know. We covered a lot, so yes, we started to investigate. I got some people in the community together. We organized, and we began to investigate the possibilities of what was going on, and we went to all the elected officials. Nobody wanted to deal with it. The black community, the black middle class, who are in the illusion of inclusion. They under the illusion that they are a part of this society, just refuse to deal with it altogether. And I think in January we had a rally, and January of this year on Dr. King's birthday, and we got people like Alton Maddox to come from New York, the famous attorney. We got Pam Africa to come, who has the Mamiya Foundation, and we brought some attention to it, but it just infuriated the ruling elite of the state, the white elite of the state.
Right.
Now
I'm going to back up. I'm sorry. I was going to say, let's back up for just a second, because I know you had mentioned the football player who you were told was white, but what did you come to find out about him?
Well, the football player, I first found out about him, but I didn't know he was black. One selected leader informed me that this individual was white. And so I just threw it off, right?
And then found out he was black later on.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until later on, after Henry Fordham was found hanging on a tree, that the mother of Charles Conley called me. She called me at 1 a.m, in fact, and said, I heard you guys are having a rally about lynchings. I believe that my son was lynched. And I said, actually his cousin called me and had his mother to call me. And I asked her, was he white? Because she sounded like a black woman. And she said, no, he's black. And I said, well, show me a picture. And she sent me the picture. And he was a star athlete. He had only been in the city for 7 weeks. Wow. And she said that the authorities refused to do a proper investigation, and they said that he killed himself over his girlfriend, and they based that off of an alleged post that he made on Facebook. Okay,
so as far as the timeline goes, so he was the first person who we suspect was lynched, and then we heard about Lorenzo Clark, and then Henry Fordham actually escaped.
Yes.
And was there another brother in there as well who may have been lynched?
No, that's it. That's all I know. But the important thing is that the one, Johnny Clark, was at Silver Lake Park. Henry Fordham was at Silver Lake Park. And Charles Conley was right down the street at Wesley College, which is like a 5-minute walk from Silver Lake Park.
Okay.
So all in the same vicinity. And we even had some white supremacists on a website called niggermania.com who was mocking our rally that we had in January. And they basically said, I made a statement at the rally that if all of a sudden black men are all of a sudden hanging themselves on oak trees, then we need to call in the CDC, the Center for Disease and Control, to find out, because this is too much.
Yes.
And one of the white supremacists in their website, niggermania.com, wrote back and stated, we don't hang niggers. Niggers don't hang themselves on oak trees. They use maple trees.
Now
and
we
what
do.
Was ironic
Now we.
That,
I have to pause just for a minute because I know that that's the name of the site and what they actually have said, but we just want to say N-word instead of saying the actual word, if possible.
Yeah, I'll try to respect it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem. We just have a no N-word policy, and I know, that's what they're saying, but we want to try to clean it up as much as we can. I know under the situation, under the circumstances, it's a little rough, but clean it up a little bit. So the white supremacists were basically just making fun of the whole situation.
Well, they were doing more than making fun. They were correcting us. One, they threatened me by saying that, we have plenty of rope for you on the site. But they also went further and stated that that black people don't hang themselves on oak trees. They hang themselves on maple trees.
And these brothers were found on maple trees.
Well, I thought they were oak trees, but about 2 months ago, myself and one of the guys who was helping me, we decided to go back to that area, to that park, and where we thought that this may have happened because the police never really released any information to the community about it. And we realized that, so we asked people what type of trees they were, and they said they were maple trees.
Wow. Now, I do just want to focus on something for a minute, because when we talk about black people having short memories, and black people also not necessarily taking responsibility and doing anything about our plight here, when all this was going on, I know that there seemed to not be a lot of support. Did you get any support from black leaders like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, anybody like that?
We went to every black leader in this country humanly possible. I even made a personal trip and met with the ambassador of the Cuban embassy for help, and the deputy ambassador of the Zimbabwe in the embassy. So that's how far we went.
Okay. So the name
Al, Jesse Jackson, you name it, every national radio show. Thanks to the Irritated Genie, I was able to get on the Carl Nelson show. There were a few blacks like Dr. Leon got me on his show a few times, but they came down on him. Askil Muhammad, who is the senior journalist for the Nation of Islam Final Call, sold us out. And I'll say this on the air. He sold us out, and he said that he was going to do a major story on it. And if we had a major journalist to have done a major story, it would have broke the story wide open. And in the process, he told me he was going to do it. And then he wrote me back and said, I have to contact Eric Holder of the Department of Justice and talk to him first. And I wrote him back and said, when has the Department of Justice been on the side of black people? I said, you're an elder, you know that. I have a PhD in U.S. history. They ain't never tried to help us on anything unless we push the issue. And so he got, for some strange reason, he wrote me back and said, I'm not doing the story. Don't call me again. This is a senior editor for the Final Call. He's an elder, but very conservative. And, I understand that on several occasions, several people have approached Minister Louis Farrakhan about these lynchings. And he told one lady her son was lynched in 2008 in California, and she approached Minister Farrakhan personally. And he told her that all I can do is pray for you.
Exactly. So I want to make sure everybody is hearing this, because there's a lot of people who say we've been kind of hard on the Nation of Islam lately. And I just want you guys to know that he can take time out to be interviewed and talk about some faggot being a spiritual giant. But when it comes to black people getting killed, he can't do anything but pray to a Scientology god. So keep track of this. Keep notes. What about other... go ahead.
Yeah, I also talked to Muslim Sister Ava Muhammad.
Mm-hmm.
Talked with her on this radio show on War on the Horizon. She was like, "Oh no, brother, we're gonna get this. We're gonna really put some energy to this, and we're gonna come to the end. We're gonna find a solution to this. I'm taking this to the minister." This is a year ago. Never heard back from her. I texted her. He refused to respond. I know Akbar Muhammad personally. Grew up with his children in St. Louis, Missouri. Half of my family, including my aunt and 4 of my uncles and all my cousins, are in the Nation of Islam. I went to meet him on several occasions to ask him to get involved and get the minister involved. No response.
Of course not. Well, Akbar, my husband knows him personally, and his character has always been questionable, so that doesn't surprise me. What about the Black Panthers? Have any of them tried to step up and do anything at all?
I talked to brother, I forget the minister out of I know brother Shabazz personally from living in D.C. and but I haven't talked to him. I talked to one of his deputies, and they said, we busy, we can't get involved. And he called brother what's brother's name, the head of the new Black Panther board. What's his name?
Is it Malik?
Yeah, he called brother Malik in my presence. I didn't get to talk to him, and but he told him to tell me that they're too busy. I ended up seeing one of the other brothers in Atlanta, another one of the ministers of the new Black Panther Party, and he's promised to put this on the burner with Malik, and but they're all running from this. This is an issue that they have been told all the Black leadership outside of, for the most part, War on the Horizon, they've been told to shut their mouths, be happy Negroes, and let us have our fun with your children. Let us continue to take their energy as a sacrifice, and allow them to hang on trees. And that's the only way that you can sum this up. But all these Black leaders we went to, you would think me having a PhD from Howard, I would bring some form of credibility to something like this. And particularly with my focus of study being on the American South. I'm a Garvey scholar, so my upcoming book is on the Garvey movement in Louisiana. So I have some familiarity with the history of lynchings in this country. So, but I have, for the most part, been marginalized. Also because of these fake, trumped-up criminal charges that have been put on me.
Right, and I'm gonna get into that in a moment. I just want to make sure that we update everything here. So I just want to let all of the listeners know, for people who are really dedicating their lives and times to these groups, be it Nation of Islam, Black Panthers, militant organizations, Negro organizations, just keep this in mind, that when a real thing happens, when stuff starts to get thick, where are you at? If you're going to dedicate your time and energy to all these places, you need to make sure that they benefit you, because this should be a subject that everybody is getting on. It should not be dying down. It should just be getting stronger, and it's not. So keep that in mind when you're joining these groups. Besides, I know you said that there was a march. Has any action at all been taken about these lynchings?
Look, about 2 months ago, I sent, about 3 months ago, a young man cornered one of the U.S. senators in Delaware named Christopher Coons. And he had his tape out and asked him straight up. He was like, look, I was just in Dover participating in a march against lynchings, and we want to know why you have not done anything about it. And this is on audio tape. I can send it to you. In fact, I'm going to ask the irritated Jenny to put it up on the website, because it's a very important tape, and ask people to call Senator Coons' office. And I think that's how we can bring some issue to this. And he responded by saying, oh, well, I'm going to investigate it. I sent some Negroes down to look into it, some Negro preachers, and they said nothing is going on. So, but if you have other information, he says this on this audio tape. And so I sent him a letter with the audio tape, and I sent it all over the country, and CC'd about 30 people. Nobody responded to it. He didn't respond to it. And, as long as they don't have to say anything about it, and as long as Black people don't push the issue, then these things aren't happening. That means that one of your sons or loved ones could be next. In fact, there have been there's been an epidemic of lynchings all over this country since the election of President Barack Obama. So this is a very serious issue. I pushed it, hey, I've gone on my way to try to push this as much as I can, but hey, I'm just one person.
Right.
So it is very serious. It's a very serious
Now,
issue. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, how is Brother Fordham doing now?
He's out, but I'm gonna be honest. He's a knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
He's been incarcerated in and out all of his life. So, I tried to get him to, to take a right turn, but the streets sometimes have our people. So I've tried my best, and I told them that they were going to possibly do something to him if he didn't clean himself up. And he told me, I saw him the day before yesterday, he told me that they threatened to kill him, and I said, we tried to help you, so, hey, he's still alive,
Okay.
But some of the things that he's doing may be dubious.
Yeah, that could set him up for something like this to happen again, and this time he won't have the credibility.
When I talked to him the other day, they arrested him and they told him that he was a dead Negro in work walking, and so I told him that he can get off the streets, and people will be interested in hearing what he had to say, and but hey, some people, this is the way that they want to go. So.
Right. Yeah. Now, let's talk about you a little bit, because since you have been the one on the front lines, even before we heard this story, you were already suffering a lot because of this and struggling a lot because of this. How has it affected you, and have things gotten any better for you? Have they any new updates?
Well, no, they haven't gotten better. They've gotten progressively worse. Like I said, I have a wife and 5 kids with no job. I have a PhD, but when you say that Caesar has no clothes, then they would try their best to take everything from you.
Mm.
So I don't want to sound defeated, because I haven't been defeated. I've just been cheated. They took my employment away from me on false, when I pleaded not guilty. And when you're going up against the vice president's son, who is the attorney general for Delaware, nobody is going to come out and really support you. Very few people. It has to come from the grassroots community. This has to be an issue from the grassroots. So, it's been extremely difficult. Even just trying to buy transcripts for my case has been hard. It has been difficult just raising the money, needed for that, and so, which makes the argument even tougher. And then you have a white supremacist legal system, in which they are trying their best to protect, because they depend on that system. And it's been difficult. In fact, last week, the state of Delaware kidnapped my son, my 9-year-old son, and we don't know what was going on, what made them do it, but they kidnapped him and said that he made allegations against me.
How did that occur? Like, that's pretty major. How did that come to be? They just came to your house and...
No, he was at school.
Okay.
And the nurse of the school fabricated medical records to say that he was hurt, that he had bruises, and that he had marks on his neck, and he was bleeding from alleged child abuse, allegedly perpetrated against me by me.
Mm-hmm.
And since they don't have anything against me, and they have these trumped up charges, and since I have embarrassed them by coming out publicly about these lynchings and how they're trying to make sure that our people have no way to get the skills that we need to constantly resist the white supremacists. They came after my 9-year-old son, and although they said that all of these, that he was abused, they didn't even take him to the doctor. They took him straight to this child advocacy center with a group of white supremacists. They interviewed him, interrogated him for about an hour, and against the will of my wife, who was there. And then they decided to take him to the doctor, and the doctor evaluated him twice and found that none of these things were true. So the nurse fabricated the documents, and we later found out that the Senator Coons went public last Thursday, and stated that the Center for Child Advocacy, which is supposed to be a center all over the country that advocates for abused children, may go under unless they get $20 million. And we believe that they were going to try to use me as the face of why the Congress should give them the money that they need.
Now,
so they kidnapped my son, didn't follow any procedure, and just basically lied. We got the documents to prove it.
Is he back home now?
Yeah, he's back home. They released him the same day because my wife refused to go along with their bullcrap. They tried to force her to sign documents to say that I'm an abusive husband, and they even told her that I have a history of beating up police officers and all of this foolishness, and that's why they were after me. And they tried to threaten her, but she refused to sign any of the documents.
Now, I know last time I heard from you, there was a lot of harassment going on. There were people following you. You said somebody had come into your home, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? And is that still going on as well?
Yeah, this was in the right after I was arrested. I think what people need to understand is that Delaware. One, we got to understand that the Vice President of the United States is from Delaware, right? So this is arguably the most powerful man in the country, because not only is he the Vice President, but he's also the President over the Senate, right? He has control of the 100 U.S. senators, right? He has control over that. So he is the most powerful man, right? So this is his state, and it's a very small state, and he has presidential ambitions. And then his son is the Attorney General, who is the Attorney General for the state. And I make the argument that the son, Bo Biden Jr., is arguably the most powerful Attorney General in the country, probably more powerful than Eric Holder because of his father's position. So Eric Holder, as the Attorney General for the United States, is not going to go against his boss in investigating lynchings. He's not going to do it. Not in his state. In fact, lynchings don't even exist, as far as they're concerned. So that means that the white supremacists will continue to lynch us. Also, Delaware is the first state in the United States. It has less than 1 million residents, but it's the first state, so it's the first state and the oldest state to practice slavery. It's also the Delaware history. They exported more enslaved Africans than any other state during their tenure under slavery. In fact, they specialized in slave plantations where they would breed us. Delaware led the nation in breeding African children and sending them off as export to other states, right, during their time under enslavement, when enslavement was legal. Delaware is also the last state to ratify the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which they did in 1904. Right? Now, we know that Mississippi didn't ratify the 13th Amendment until 2013. But Delaware was the last state to ratify all three of them. Right? Up until very recently, Delaware used to whip black people in public, right? Up until the 60s, the 1960s. It's called the whipping post. They had, in every county, there are 3 counties, at the public jail cell, if you did anything wrong, they would put black people on. They would do it to white folks, too, but it was disproportionately meant for black people, where they would just whip you in front of the public, and they would force your children to come. So there are pictures of these children, black children, watching their fathers getting beat. And they were doing this up until the 60s, until there was a mass movement to end it, just like you have a movement to end the death penalty. Well, there was a movement to end Delaware's whipping post. And up until the 1990s, legal hangings were legal in the state, where the correctional institutions were hanging people. And the last person hung was in 1995. Also, lastly but not least, Delaware leads the nation in incarcerated people per 100,000 residents. Delaware leads the world in incarcerated people per 100,000 people. So they incarcerate something like 1,000 people per 100,000, right? More than any other place in the world, more than the United States itself. So first there's Delaware, then the United States, then the Soviet Union, and so on and so on. And of those people incarcerated, 70% are African Americans, which more than 80% are black men. This is the state in which the president, vice president of the United States reigns from. And this is what they don't want to get off. And this is the leadership. Yes. This is a culture. It's a culture. And although Africans in the state are 24%, 22% of the state's population, they are so repressed. And everybody knows that you don't mess with these people in Delaware, because they will kill you. This is what people have told me. This is what people know, that white supremacy runs rampant here without any checks. So this is why no one in the state is willing to say anything about it. It doesn't exist. And all they do is hope and pray that it doesn't happen to them. In fact, I have one of the largest churches in the state, a Methodist preacher told me a few weeks ago, is that we know that they're lynching black people. What can we do?
I believe it. A lot of people, especially down south, don't understand how it is up north. Everybody assumes that it's just bad down south. But I know when I grew up near a border with Indiana, where Indiana is a very, very overtly racist state. And every time when I was in high school, when my band would go and play at football games or whatever, we would actually receive death threats, and threats that at least a couple of us were going to get lynched and would not make it home that night. And we had to play under those circumstances pretty often. So it's not like this far-fetched thing if people are listening and thinking that this stuff doesn't really happen, or that you're making it up because it's up north. Up north is not much different than down south.
That's right. In fact, Malcolm X said in one of his famous speeches, y'all stop talking about the South. As long as you're south of the Canadian border, you're in the South. So that's what we're dealing with. Yes. It's all the South. It's all hostile toward African people.
Yes, sir.
So, my family is suffering, because of my activism. But what do? You find out somebody is being hung, lynchings are going on, and you're worried about yourself and your own family. What do? Any man would stand up to this. Any man, righteous man would stand up So what was I supposed to do? You know, I'm a product of historically black colleges. I understand this educational system. And so I felt that I had a moral obligation to let our people in this country know what these people are doing, what their plans are. In fact, just 2 weeks ago, the organization that represents historically black colleges came out and said that they are in the process of suing the Obama White House for canceling student loans for thousands of students. The White House canceled student loans, which caused, they say, something like $200 million, where historically black colleges lost just the last academic year, right?
Wow.
And so, you know, I've been venerated almost because I made this argument in my article, how black colleges are turning white, the ethnic cleansing. Yeah, they're not through. No, they don't want us being properly educated, period. So even at the predominantly white schools, they're wiping out the Afrikaans and Black Studies programs all over the country. This is a design to take away our capability to educate our people in ways that can resist white supremacy.
Yes, sir. Now, I
and
do...
all of it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the way that the brother Irritated is able to resist is because of the training that he got. You see, the way that Dr. Issa can resist is because of the training that I received. You know, you have to have skills to be able to resist these people. And so they're taking away our very way to resist, so which means that in 10 years, they can have their way with us in all ways. They can have their way with us because we don't know how to resist. And although I have no money, but because I have resources and I have a belief in myself, I've been able to successfully fight these people off and prevent myself from being incarcerated, you know. But, you know, I have a PhD and I know people with resources. What more of the average brother and sister? They don't stand a chance in this system.
Yes, sir. Now, for anybody who would like to help you, I know for a while there was a website where they could donate. Is that site still available for people who would like to help out?
Yes, we just reactivated it. It's called, you can go to hbcuinstitute.org, hbcuinstitute.org, and we've added a lot of the links and the videos which show that I did not hit an officer, that I was attacked from behind, and that they're lying, and, you know, this is just a major cover-up. How do you fight the federal government by yourself? How do you fight the White House on your own? You know, this is nothing more than COINTELPRO. In fact, when I met the Irritated Genie last October, I was speaking about this very issue at Howard University. It was about 150 students came out to hear me speak. And what was interesting is that after this event, some cat named Marshall X the 7th or something was just harassing me about taking this walk with him in the dark. I didn't know the cat. And he was adamant, you know, although I was having a conversation with the Irritated Genie and other people, he was like, you know, I want you to go with me. And afterwards, we realized that he was acting irate throughout the entire time I was there. And, you know, until the cats from the War on the Horizon, they had to basically take care of the cat. Ain't no telling what would have happened to me. So, yes, I have been followed. I'm still being followed by, I don't know if these are federal agents or COINTEL. I don't know if they're state or federal or contractors, but they are following me. My phones are still being hacked. COINTELPRO is alive. We have not made it. It's just an illusion that we are included in this society. It's just a great illusion. It's a big illusion. Yes. So we have not made it. And I think if there's anything that I can say that will help our people is that, especially those who are young enough or too young to understand what happened to our people during the 60s and 70s, is just say that these things were right back in that history, and everybody knows it. Those who have the sense know this, and we're not properly trained in how to fight and resist. In the 60s and the 70s, we knew how to resist. We're walking, we're like sheep out in the wilderness with wolves everywhere. So we don't know how to resist this. The sexual assaults against our people, the political, the economic. And so all of the agencies that allowed us to progress from the 60s, like I'm 44, so I know that I was able to go to school and so move into the so-called middle class because of the sacrifices of those who came before me, right? Those that I can remember. My own family fought. They fought in the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement, right? And so I felt that I had to have a moral obligation to give back the way that the way that people gave to me. And so that's why I continue to speak out and to resist the best way that I know. But there is a danger to it, because you know that these people at any time will try to take your life. This is their history. This is what they do. They ain't never changed. They will never, ever change. We are the ones that change.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, I do still fear for my safety. I do fear for the safety of my family. They've already shown me that they would take my children at any time. And so they're flexing. And as long as Black people sit and really don't say anything, this is where we are. And lastly, I want to say that it's not about me. It's about our people. I never took these things personal. That's why I haven't given up, because I know this is about our people. They're after me because I spoke out. I spoke out. But I was speaking out to a group. And so I know that the attacks on me are really attacks on you, or attacks on the irritated, on attacks on Wally Moon. And they, and if they felt they could, they would. This is how they act. But we too have power too. But our power has to be collective. And so, again, I appreciate you giving me the chance to come on your show and share these issues.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the best defense we have sometimes, is to stay visible. Do you mind if we go to the phone lines and take a couple of phone calls?
Sure.
All right. Anybody that wants to call in, the number is 760-569-7676. And the participation code is 948656#. And I'm about to go to the phone lines, but we do just want to bring it to everybody's attention. Brother Jahi Issa does not plan on having any untimely accidents, no car crashes, no food poisoning, no suicide attempts, none of that strategic stuff that sometimes seems to mysteriously happen, since we know that is not in the plans. That is one less thing that they could use against you, as far as that goes. You have no plans on leaving us anytime soon, correct?
I plan on being here until I'm 90.
That's right. So we have that on file, so don't even try it. All right.
That's right.
5142, you're live on War on the Horizon. 5142. All right, I will assume that you are just listening in. 2874, you're live on War on the Horizon. 2874. All right. Don't be afraid. We're not going to bite. If you're just listening, let us know you're just listening. 7730, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good evening, Miss Lady Shabazz.
Good evening.
And good evening to the guests tonight.
Yes, good evening, my brother.
I would say my one question in regards to the education. You feel because of these black institutions, the causes that they trying to work on shut them down because of trying to educate yourself in order to resist? That's my question.
Well, I didn't hear his question.
No, I'm not repeating because I'm not loaded the phone. All right. Do you think because the education is dead, I would say these black institutions, colleges, that they're shutting down these college institutions because of the education they could use to utilize in a proper way to resist?
Sister Shabazz, can you translate that? For some reason, it didn't come through properly.
Are you saying because of the education that you receive at a HBCU that could cause us to resist, and is that why they're shutting them down? Was that the question?
Yeah, it's one of it, but it's more in fact of in deeper term, just getting a regular, let's say, degree, if people want to choose to get that, and you know, in ways any type of area. So let's say, I guess help people or yourself. Or on people, is that the reason why they're shut down, especially the black esteemed colleges for this? From what I'm hearing earlier, I'm not sure I catch it.
Yes. You are correct. Yes, it is because they train us, and they're not shutting them down. They're just making them white. You see, there was a Supreme Court decision in 1992 called Fordyce versus the United States. And in that decision, one of the Supreme Court justices, ironically, his name was Justice White, stated that the United States will no longer fund black colleges for private black citizens when they can go to white colleges. And so this, through this Supreme Court decision, they left it in the hands of the states to decide what they wanted to do with the colleges. So, for instance, in 2002, I think, Tennessee stated that Tennessee State University had to whiten up its college by 50% within 3 years or they will lose their funding. But the black community fought back, right? So, yes, it is an effort to, they are doing this in an effort to make sure that our people are not properly educated. Just imagine, I can tell you just from my experiences at historically black colleges. I mean, if you look at many of the revolutionaries during the 60s, even Nkrumah went to Lincoln University. Azizwe, the first president of Nigeria, went to Howard. I mean, Kwame Ture went to Howard. Dr. King went to Morehouse. Ida B. Wells went to a black college. Du Bois went to Fisk. I can go on and on and on and on. And so these are the type of leaderships that were produced. The Irritated Genie went to Hampton. I went to Howard, Southern, and Texas Southern. And so although not everybody there came out of these institutions conscious, but a large degree did. So you have these nurturing professors who may not necessarily agree with you, but they're not going to try to destroy you. They're going to allow you to be you because they see you as their mothers, their uncles and aunts. So yes, it's these schools that put up the resistance toward white supremacy and all of its tenets. It's that training, right? And so their goal is to take out all the black professors and to make these schools bastions of white supremacy. And so that's the issue, yes. It's a very serious issue, and our people have yet to figure out how to fight back.
All
I
right.
see.
Was,
All right. Lady Shabazz,
yes, sir.
a question to you. Since now this one athlete came out of the woodworks to openly come of his, I guess, sexual orientations, like to keep it clean. There's now a lot of athletes now that now start coming out now crazy now with this, like coming out of the woodwork, that's saying that they're underclass in this so-called sports entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Okay. What was the question exactly? I know you talked about the gentleman that just came out. What was the question in there?
You know, Jason Carr that came out today, he is,
Right.
gay.
Yeah, he's
There's
a
a lot
fan.
more athletes that are going to start coming out now in all these professional sports that's going to stop John Black. That's mostly black people like playing them. It's going to start coming out now.
I would imagine
It looks
so.
because it looks like that's a statement set made, and then the trend's going to start falling.
Oh yeah, I would imagine so. They've been in the closet, for a long time. Everybody's known pretty much that there's a lot of fagotism in all professional sports, even down to college sports and probably high school sports too. So they always get a mascot and then they try to make it cool, make it normal, and everybody follows suit.
All right. Thank you for answering my questions, and I'll tune in.
You're welcome.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Thanks.
And remember, on War on the Horizon, we of course do not say the N word, but we are not afraid to call a fag, so we ain't got to worry about being politically correct with that one. If somebody is a booty bandit, that's what they are. They don't get no respect. Really don't deserve any. All right.
Booty bandit.
What's that?
I said booty bandit.
All right. 5469, you are live on War on the Horizon.
How's everybody? I'm just listening.
Okay, thank you for listening in.
I want to also add, for those who are listening, if they can go to the website, make a donation, whatever donation you can, that will help. I'm in great need financially. Some days it's difficult to even feed my family. It's very difficult. One of the successes of the civil rights movement, in which we're going to have to learn how to repeat this, is that it was successful because the black churches, for the most part, took care of a lot of the finances. Now, we know that some of the finances also came from white organizations, too, but for the most part, a lot of it came from black folk. And if black people can't finance their own movement, then we deserve to be in the positions where we are. If we're going to constantly rely on white people to finance movements that are righteous for us, then, we have a big problem. Now, one of the things that we are about to do, we are about to launch a newspaper called the Harriet Tubman. It will come out around in about a week online, and then hopefully by the end of the month or early June, we will have our first print edition. We're going to come out first in the Northeast region, and then gradually it will come out once a month. I think the Irritated Genie is going to have an editorial in there. This is going to be print and online, where we can address our issues in the way that we need to do so. So if there are brothers and sisters that want to advertise in it, the online and print edition, they can hit me up. Go to my website, hbcuinstitute.org, go to contact and email me if you're interested. But it's called the Harriet Tubman newspaper. And we're going back to the basics. And so I'm really excited about that. And I think once that gets up and running, that, will potentially help me financially and help me to be independent. Because we really need to be independent if we're going to resist these people and resist their wickedness. We have to be independent. We got to find ways to be independent. So hopefully this newspaper will find ways. The paper will be sold for $1, and 30% of it will go toward the youth who sell it. And so we're going to be able to employ youth. I sold newspapers as a kid, and so we got to get back to the basics. But this paper is going to address our issues, both online and print, in a way that no other paper in this country addresses our issues. The Final Call used to really address our issues, but they've gone mainstream for the most part. So hopefully we will be able to pick up with the help of people like you, Sister Shabazz, and brothers and sisters. We can make this the people's paper.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we will be going back to the phone lines in just a moment, but I do want to, again, if you want to make a donation, because remember, when Farrakhan didn't want to talk about this, when Malik was too busy to talk about this brother has been struggling to get this to the forefront. So if you do want to make a donation, that's hbcuinstitute.org if you want to make a donation. And as far as the paper, as he just said, if he's allowing advertising in the paper, most of us are doing something. We're not a group who just sits back and doesn't do anything. Most of us have businesses or hustles or something going on. Advertise in there, subscribe to the paper, do whatever you can do, to support this brother, because you see how your leadership is failing, and anything that's going to get done at this point is going to be from the grassroots. Nobody else really has time for us to worry about us. They're too busy praying to Xenu and doing whatever else they do in their Scientology temples and at their rallies and meetings and whatever, while they're yelling Black Power, what have you. Since none of these people have shown even the slightest bit of concern for this situation, maybe we need to stop subscribing to all these other papers and maybe see how this one goes. So definitely support that. Let's see. 851. I'm sorry? Did you say something? Okay. 8518, you're live on War on the Horizon.
What's up? At least you socialize it. You get into that social stuff.
8518.
This person made a comment tonight and said that
all right. I guess that they are having a sidebar, so we'll leave them alone for now. One question I do have for you is, I know, you've been going through this for a while. As you said, you've been followed. People have come into your home. Now they're messing with your family and your children. And you have received very little support. And I know if you haven't received a lot of verbal support, then financial support has probably pretty much been a joke. Have you become bitter at all? I always wonder about that, when people are really standing up for Black people and Black people are not really appreciative of that. Have you gotten bitter?
No, because I understand the history, one. Two, I am an indigenous practitioner of our tradition. I've made more than 20 trips to Africa. I met my wife in Africa. 2 of my children were born in Africa. And so while being there, I was able to study the tradition and be initiated in the tradition. And so I'm a practitioner of the tradition, and I'm able to help people. And that's one of the reasons, probably the main reason, why these people haven't succeeded in trying to totally destroy me, right? So I believe in our ancestors. I call on our ancestors, and they come, right? So I believe in that tradition, and so I have not become bitter, not at all. I understand what I'm fighting against. I understand what I'm fighting against, and I'm willing to die for what I'm fighting against. I'm willing to die. We should not allow these people to do what they're doing. We suffered too much to give it all up just because a so-called black man is in the White House. So we should give up everything. No. I know I am who I am because people fought and died. And I understand that as a historian, coming into the tradition of Dr. Clark, in the tradition of Dr. Bennett, in the tradition of Amos Wilson. I understand that. And I was always taught, if these people are not coming against you, then you must be doing something wrong.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I'm not at all bitter. I am a little disappointed that there hasn't been any help, but quite often I think, being in this position, I'm able to meditate and just understand where Malcolm and Dr. King was. They had to be lonely. They had to be lonely. All the people that say they love Malcolm and Dr. King, they weren't supporting them back then. Right. They were afraid. When Dr. King came to Delaware, one elder told me, he's about 85, he said, man, all the black leadership fought for him not to come. And when he came, only mainstream black folk, the average brothers and sisters, came out to hear him speak. The so-called black minister class was too afraid. So I understand what it means. I understand how Brother Khalid must have felt in his last days, and how Amos may have felt. Because these are people who sacrificed tremendously for our people, and we weren't there for them. We weren't there for them. So I'm not bitter. Okay. I understand what I did, and if I had to do it again, I would.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, let's go back to the phone lines. You are live on War on the Horizon.
Yeah, I want to welcome our brother, Dr. Jahi Issa, to War on the Horizon again. Of course, he's no stranger here.
Yes, sir.
And, I want to thank, yes, sir. I want to thank the sister, Lady Shabazz, of course, always doing what she do, bringing these kind of great programs to us. And I don't have a lot to say. I just want to say this because it's really, it's real. A lot of times, when I first met Brother Dr. Jahi Issa, he was telling me what was going on. First, they sent the email, and people sent it to me, and I looked at it, and it sounded kind of fantastic. And one thing I've learned about the brother is that he has some of the most incredibly, bizarre and hostile things that will occur and happen to him. And he tells you almost in a matter-of-fact kind of way, as if you hear it and go, if something that bad happened to him, why is he not freaking out? And, and recently when he used to tell me the thing, I had a hard time believing him because it was just so fantastic. But I've actually been there to witness multiple ones of these incidents that have occurred. So I'm just here to tell everybody that's listening, even though the brother is talking with a calmness and a poise, if most of the stuff that the brother goes through and has gone through, I've been there. He hasn't even told you half of the stuff. Like, for instance, I talk to the brother constantly. He never mentioned to me the situation that's recently happened at the school thing. But so many things happen in this brother's life since he started fighting this lynching. Some of them I've been physically there to witness, where he wouldn't even mention to a person. I have to remind them to tell a person that it happened, just to say, this brother is really under tremendous pressure and fighting for our people. And I want our brothers and sisters out there to say, this irritated genie, I'm co-signing. I'm not telling you what I think. I have seen with my own eyes. I've been there. In fact, when the brother was going to attack him at Howard University, he wasn't the one that realized it. I was the one. So no one can say, well, do you really think it was happening? I was the one that realized it was an attack. And the brother say that, I can tell you to say, this is not a brother who's making up anything. This is a black man who sees that black people are being harmed, decided he wasn't going to stand there and let it happen, has lost his job because of it, but has committed himself doubly and triply times into the struggle, has grown to see more of the stuff that's happening. This is one more thing I'll just tell y'all, and I won't tell you the specifics, but I just want y'all to understand we're talking about a freedom fighter here. This brother actually witnessed a situation of a homosexual trying to essentially overthrow a Pan-Africanist group. And I saw this brother. I was there and witnessed this brother run the homosexual out the room. I want y'all to listen to me. I'm telling you what I know. This brother, when he found out that it was a homosexual who was trying to infiltrate and destroy a black institution that was trying to build itself up, this brother, by his own fruition, ran the homosexual out. And I'm saying, with the things that we're dealing with, I want you all to understand we really need to support this brother. I want people to send some money to this brother. I know we're supporting Brother Baruti in this fundraiser, but take some time, go to the brother's website and donate to our brother, Dr. Issa, because this brother is not somebody that's talking about fighting. He doesn't even really talk about it a whole lot. He's out here every single day of his life trying to figure out what he can do to stop black people from getting killed and to educate our people to all of the assaults that we're facing. And he's not just educating our people, he's an activist. He's physically involved in the liberation of African people. So I just wanted to get my endorsement with the brother. I can say beyond a reasonable shadow of a doubt that this brother's sincere. I've seen his work, brother, and we really love you here on War on the Horizon, brother.
Hey, brother, I really appreciate that coming from your mouth. And I did listen to the show last night with Walamu Barute, and it was a very serious show. I heard it, and I tuned out halfway through the question and answering period. So I listened to the show a lot, man, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing, because you have to be very courageous in this hostile environment to have an institution like War on the Horizon and that tells the truth and is fighting for our people. And we look forward to you coming to Delaware in June.
Brother, we look forward to coming there, and we're going to make sure that it will be a situation and a time to remember when we get there, brother. So we look forward to seeing you as well. Lady Shabazz, wonderful program. Dr. Jahi Issa, thank you for the support and for the great work you're doing for our race. We're going to support you in every way we can, brother.
All right, brother. Thanks a lot.
Peace.
All right.
All right. That is the Irritated Genie of Southeast. Let's go to the phone lines here. 5204, you're live on War on the Horizon.
Peace and blessings, Lady Shabazz and Dr. Issa.
Peace, how are you?
Good. This is Hakeem Formo out of Philadelphia. Dr. Issa, how everything going?
Hey, my brother, how you doing?
Everything is everything. We working on bringing you down to Lincoln University so you can spread some more of that good information.
Yes, sir, man. I look forward to coming in September, brother, and I really appreciate it. And, hopefully we can get the students organized and educated and through a workshop where they can learn how to resist. We need these historically black colleges here for the next 1,000 years.
Right.
My
question for you tonight would be, what is your thought with the current situation at HBCUs in Maryland, and why do you think black people resisted the merger between Compton State and Morgan State during the early 1990s?
Okay, yeah, no problem. Well, for the listening audience, the HBCUs in Maryland are suing the state of Maryland for $2 billion. This is stuff, they're keeping it on the low. It hasn't made national media because they don't want the other HBCUs to catch wind of this. They are suing the the government of Maryland for $2 billion, in which they say that from the time of Brown versus the Board of Education, 1954 up until present, the state, through their own tax dollars that black people spent, were supposed to get an equal share in the educational institution. So, for instance, schools like Townsend State, University of Maryland, Baltimore, these are predominantly white institutions. Salisbury State, which is in the southern part of Maryland, these are white institutions. They received the money that was supposed to go to black colleges, right? But one of the problems with this suit, which they more than likely will win, they're in arbitration now, and I've talked to some of the leading attorneys in it, and I've talked to some of the leaders, the black leaders who led this campaign, is that what the government is going to essentially force them to do is whiten up the school. And because the whites are not going to the white elite. See, we got to understand the process of education is powerful. War on the Horizon is an educational institution. Education is everything. How people learn, the mind, shaping ideas and concepts. It's everything to a human being, right? Whether you can resist or not, whether you accept white supremacy or you're not. That's the way that you were educated, right? So the mere fact that we got a percentage, a large percentage, which the majority of black people are nationalists, right? It's because we have a nationalist education. It's not necessarily coming from the school system. It's coming out of the culture, right? So for the state to give this type of money, they are already setting up parameters in which they will probably force these schools to whiten up in about 10 to 15 years, unless the community in Maryland is properly educated on how to resist it. And I have asked the leaders of these who have fought this to allow me to come in and do workshops in the churches and other places, but I haven't heard anything back. And a lot of people right now are essentially afraid to touch me because I'm fighting the Biden family, you know, and it's a righteous fight because they are the leaders of the state, and they think it's okay because they got most of the Negroes here scared to not investigating the lynchings of our people, you know. And so I'm going to keep shouting as long as I can shout about this issue. So also, I'm not familiar with the merger of these schools in the 80s, in the 90s, but you know, these black schools are just like black churches, you know. Right. You know, they have their pride, their sovereign entities. You know, they don't want to. They have their own history and culture that is unique, and so that's primarily the reason that I can think of as to why probably wouldn't merge. But you know, it didn't stop the black schools in Atlanta from merging and starting and forming the Atlanta consortium with the black schools. So,
right, because in the early 90s, Maryland was thinking about merging University of Baltimore County and University of Maryland, Baltimore City, and Morgan State and Coppin State.
Right.
And there was a lot of resistance from the black community. I was doing some research on this recently and looking up news articles from the Baltimore Sun in the early 90s. How they were saying the black communities was disagreeing with the merger between the two black schools.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's about it, man. It's a good show, man. Keep up the good work. We're going to support you with the HBCU Institute. Try to get you back down here to Philadelphia and to Lincoln. So keep up the good work. It's one of the best radio stations. We need this on 900 WRD in Philadelphia. Keep up the good work.
And brother, you keep up the good work and trying to find out as much information as you can about these historically black colleges because they're very important to our people. And they're going to ban us from going to the white schools anyway. So let's fight for those. Let's keep those schools that we have and even possibly take them over and finance them ourselves. So that's what I'm for.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I guess we can talk about, I know, like, not too long after War on the Horizon began covering this story, we heard that there may be some more mysterious deaths up there. A lot of them may have been drug addicts or people like that. Did any of those pan out to be something that you may think could be related to this case or not really?
Yeah. I don't know. You know, I haven't been able to find anything out. You know, but you know, no one is able actually brought anything credible to me.
Okay.
So I would have to say no. That doesn't mean it's not happening, because when you're dealing with sick people like this, generally they want to continue doing this. These are serial killers, and so I wouldn't doubt that they have stopped. No, why would they stop when nobody's forcing them to stop?
Right.
Right. And so, and even in Indiana, I remember Brother Carl Nelson's show when Brother through the Irritated Genie, I was able to get on that particular show. And when I first broke this story to national media, a brother from Indiana called in and said that his relative was lynched recently. And so this is going on all over the country now. This is not just a Delaware issue.
Oh, not at all.
This is going on, and it has proliferated since the election of President Barack Obama.
Yeah, that only makes it worse because that angers white people to see who they consider a black person in the White House, because some of them are dumb enough to think he's actually going to try to help black people. And of course, they take it out on who they can take it out on. And all too often, that's going to be somebody that looks like me or you, just the average everyday person. I know when the situation happened, there didn't seem to be a lot of action taken. Is there anything that you think that we can do now, or has the time pretty much come and gone?
No, it hasn't come and gone. What we're trying to do next is organize a march, a rally in Wilmington, Delaware on June the 11th. We will have a blog up so that we can bring this to the attention of people. And we want to do it actually in Wilmington, Delaware, and to do it in front of the Vice President's house in D.C. Especially, we got some people in the Maryland, D.C. area who will be courageous enough to help us in putting it on in D.C. because that will really bring this issue out to the mainstream. Because, you know, if these people don't stop, they're going to continue doing it. And I wouldn't be shocked if they will move into areas like, not shocked, they have. They lynched a brother in Baltimore last year.
Wow.
Oh man, it's just you just wouldn't think that you'll be talking about this and black people are reluctant to really deal with it.
Now,
this is where we.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If people want to reach you, I know we have the hbcuinstitute.org website. Are there any other ways to get in contact with you if somebody maybe wants you for a speaking engagement or some other opportunities or questions they may have?
Yes. You can email me at JAHISSA65@gmail.com.
Okay. And the rally, again, you said, what day is that on?
That's going to be on June the 11th.
And
right now it's going to be in Wilmington, Delaware, in front of the Attorney General office. And we're also trying to do it in Washington, D.C., in front of the Vice President's office. So it's not just going to simply be a rally just on lynchings, but police brutality and judicial misconduct. And so, there's just been too many times where our people are being shot wholesale in the streets right in Southeast. It just Southeast D.C. They just shot a brother, and so I want to spearhead this, and I'm going to get with the brothers there in D.C. and if we can get about 50 brothers and sisters in front of the Vice President's house to call attention to these issues, because the Vice President is the most powerful person in the country. He controls the Senate. And hopefully this will also lead to some organizations that our people need to effectively fight these paramilitary forces that have a license to shoot our people down and to lynch us. And so, but they're going to continue to do this until we decide that enough is enough. That's just simply the issue.
Exactly. That's a good segue to the one of the last questions I have for you tonight. At one point, I know that we knew at least the first name of the lynchers. I think one of them we even knew the last name. We knew kind of the area that they were in. But unfortunately, nothing seemed to happen to them. Where are these people now? Do we know?
They disappeared, where they were living after Henry Fordham. They just disappeared. We let the mayor know, the chief of police. We even went to the state senator and representative of this area. They all know. We went to them and told them who these guys were. We think that they're connected to some very, very powerful families. I'm not sure if these guys are relatives of the DuPonts who really run this state. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're relatives of the Bidens. We just don't know. But what we did find out is that one of the individuals' name is his family goes back into the mid-19th century, and they were very important political leaders. Okay. And so we think the issue is that these are very powerful families, and we don't know how far this goes up. We don't know if these are just mainstream, straight-up crackers, or if this is something that is being spearheaded by the elite of the state. Typically and historically, lynchings only occur because the elite of the state allow it and participate, right? So you don't have lynchings. When you see those pictures of all these crackers standing in front of our ancestors, in which they have burned, and then they do a grab for the body parts, right? Generally, you have the elite right there in the midst of it, because these are rituals, these are energy rituals, they're sacrifices, they're human sacrifices. They're no different than somebody taking a man's throat and cutting it and sacrificing it to various energies and divinities. This is what this is. These are spiritual rituals. And the intent is to scare and to deter political activity and to encourage white power, the energy. There's a spiritual form of lynching. It's very spiritual. It's very deliberate. And so generally this can only happen. So when you have this federal government that refuses to do anything, we went to every federal agency possible. That means that they are complicit in it. So it's no more different than the murders where they're shooting out people, these paramilitary police officers. The government is complicit in this also, because they refuse to do it, which they encourage this. So the government, if they wanted to stop it, they would stop it. Like with Freeman, they said the government sent people down to Money, Mississippi to investigate it, because that was the time period black people were ready to fight. Straight up like, hey, this is enough. So we have to decide when enough is enough. Right now, we haven't made that decision. It's okay for them to kill Trayvon Martin and all these other brothers and sisters, the Malcolm X Grassroots Society, say they kill a brother every 24 hours. So it's okay right now. It's okay by our lack of action.
Exactly.
So black people have to come to the point and decide that it is not okay. And this concerns me because I have two sons. I don't want to see them shot, hanging from a tree. Or I don't want to hear any of their friends or their friends or cousins and people that they socialize with. They got him, they shot him in the head. They found so-and-so hanging on a tree.
Yes,
because I know that that means that they'll come after my son next.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So I want my seeds to be here for the next 20,000 years. I want my lineage to be here, my line to be here. All right. So this is why we have to fight.
Yes, sir. I agree 1,000,000% with that. We have just a couple minutes left in the broadcast. Did you have any thoughts that you wanted to close on, or anything we didn't get to you wanted to bring up before we close out?
Sister, I just appreciate what you are doing, and I'm grateful for you allowing me on your show. And again, I'm grateful for Brother Irritated for doing what he does. And my prayer is that our people really understand what's going on, and that we really take these issues seriously and stop being cowards, and really stand up to these people and what they're trying to do to us, and what they are doing to us. Not trying, they're doing it. And so that's basically. And if anybody wants to support me, they can. I'll tell you right now, I need $800 to get these transcripts. That's so important. That is so important. If someone could possibly donate that, then we can have these transcripts, and we will publish the transcripts on our website so that people can see what the Bidens are doing. The lies, this so-called legal system, and which clearly black people have no due process in this country. The Constitution doesn't apply to us. And so I'll be willing to put all my transcripts out online so that people can see, where they can see what's going on. As far as I'm concerned, if I had the power, the Bidens should never, none of their children should ever get a national political seat in this country, as long as black people are concerned. That's how I feel.
Sure.
But I'm just one person. Hey, that's how I feel.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank
and
you.
I say, but so I'm in person, I tell them that.
I hear that. You might as well be. You on international radio, so they get the message. They listen. They know what's going on. Well, thank you so much for coming on the program and updating us. I definitely appreciate that, because as I've said continuously through this show, our memory is too short. I mean, a couple weeks after something's passed, we forgot about it. We're trying to move on. And that's probably why things don't really get taken care of the way they should have in a timely manner. So thank you for so much for coming on. And if you have any updates in the future, feel welcome to come right back and we'll do it again.
Yes, sister, I really appreciate it. I really do.
Okay, well, thank you, and I will be talking to you very soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. I do just want to say, and you can read between the lines, but I don't know about our listening audience. We tend to be, pretty upright people, but there's a lot of our people out there who doing stuff and they're going to end up having to pay for it anyway. So if you're going to have to pay for something anyway, you might as well make it worth your while. You might as well make it benefit your people. I'm sure y'all can read between the lines, but it just don't make no sense that we're always getting in trouble over little silly, frivolous things. And really not doing anything to help the big picture. So keep that in mind if you're one of those people. What direction you want to go in and what things you want to do if you know that you're going to end up having to pay for it anyway. Make it worth the cost. Again, his website where you can donate is hbcuinstitute.org. Be sure to go there and give something, even if it's $5, $10, whatever you can afford. Go on and do that. I mean, honestly, so many of us are spending money getting value meals and pizza and things like that. If we put all of that money together and stop wasting it, killing ourselves, we could make a change. We always talk about people selling out, but they selling out sometimes because we're not supporting them. Not saying that us supporting them would stop them if it's not in their heart, but we need to support our own people. We need to give them an opportunity to be able to fight for us and us fund them versus fight against us because they're getting their funding for other people. So if you see somebody sincere, then go on and back them and put your money where your mouth is, so to speak. If you stay tuned, the Cypher will be coming on in just a few minutes. Their topic is 21 years after the LA riots. Can't we all just get along? Obviously not. And they will also be talking about the NBA white sex offenders, also known as faggots. So with that, we will go on and close out. I will see you next Tuesday. We'll be talking about domestic abuse, which is a very important topic. A lot of times I get on women, so this time we're probably going to get on men a little bit, but you know what? Honestly, women are doing it now too. So I can't even say it's going to be a man show because a lot of times we're doing it and getting away with it. We have our brothers sitting over there cowering in a corner. So we need to address that as well. So join me same time, same place next week. We will be talking about domestic abuse, and stay tuned for the Cypher program. Peace.
And the time has come for the prey to become the predator in order to survive. Rest in peace, Malcolm Shaw, Oscar Grant, Sean Bell, and all the other brothers and sisters who were forced to make an early entrance into the Ogun. This we do in remembrance of you. From Black Wall Street, Rosewood, and that damn Jim Crow. 400 years, sweat and tears, I'ma do the yellow. Jahi Issa, Rodney King, Red Nick, Popo. I'ma kill me a cracker, I'ma kill me a cracker. If the crackers wanna trip, I'ma let my thing rip. If these crackers wanna trip, I'ma let my thing rip. If these crackers wanna trip, I'ma let my thing rip. I'ma let my thing rip. I'ma let my thing rip. One call, bring them all. One grab, move me out, move them all. Coming after the other, never have to call. One shot, ain't no cracker like studs. With a straight to hell, brother Herman Bell. Roll up to the Hugo Canal. R.I.P. brother Wall. Hang your practically out my swell. Bring some Jones with that tone for my brother Reggie Rose. Since y'all disrespected, told me, send your ass where you belong.